Hi, I'm Carrie Ann Stout, founder and CEO of Vinco Bar Exam Coaching. And we are continuing on with our Interview with the Coach series. Today, we have Kristen with us. Hello and welcome, Kristen. How's it going? How are you doing?
I'm good. Everything's good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Celebrating. So bar result season is here. So
Yep.
and thank you for making time to meet with us with your busy schedule that you have going on these days. So we'll jump right in. We're just trying to give people a little bit better idea of who you are, who Vinco is as a company. And so my first question for you is actually a question I get asked all the time. I always get like crazy looks like, you voluntarily like do bar prep all the time? Because a lot of people don't have the fondest memories of their bar exam experience. So why would you, as a busy working attorney who has lots of other things she could do with her time, why would you decide to spend any amount of it revisiting the bar exam?
Well, I think it's really a chance to help people realize their full potential and, accomplish their goals and dreams and get started on their careers as a lawyer. And like you said, it can be a very sort of daunting, overwhelming task. And if I know that I can help someone through it and make it a little easier and more manageable for them, I am happy to do so. And it's just a great feeling too to work with someone and see them succeed at the end of the day.
That's like very close to the answer I give. I usually say actually it's like kind of selfish on my part because like I get like so happy and get like a contact high from their success and being able to take part in that. So I'm with you on that one. Another thing I think is students often will think like, oh, somebody passed the bar exam, like it must have just been like all, rainbows and butterflies and just smooth sailing. So I love to ask the coaches who were clearly successful in passing the bar exam, what was the worst part of bar prep for you?
Um, I think the worst part was just, well, two parts. The duration of studying. I mean, it's springtime, summertime when I took it, and it's just day after day after day of going to the library and studying and watching videos and doing practice exams and sort of giving up and committing that huge chunk of time to this 2-day exam. That was very difficult. And I think also what I found to be difficult was dealing with all of the anxiety of all the people around me. So all of my friends and colleagues were similarly very stressed, very anxious. And
Feeding off of each other.
yeah, and it just sort of builds and builds and builds. And you have to take yourself out of that environment every once in a while and sometimes surround yourself with people who are not also studying for the bar.
Yeah. Or at least like somebody, I've also been, you might not know this, I'm also talking to some of our students who were successful this administration and getting their feedback too. And one of them said, it's like, no matter how much you like your classmates, it still feels a little competitive, even though it's not. That environment, like you're saying, might add to that. And yeah, people should not underestimate the monotony of bar prep.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like I always say that studying for the February bar is even more difficult in this part of the country on the East Coast where we live, because it's, you go to the library in the morning, it's dark out. You leave the library at night, it's dark out. At least in the summer, you get a little daylight at the end of the day to break that up. But yeah, I think those are difficult things for everyone that you just hit on there.
Yeah.
And so now shifting to sort of like your experience as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
what is a trap that you have seen students fall into as they're going through bar prep that you're sort of like on the outside and you're like, no, don't do that. But they sometimes fall for it anyway.
Um, I think there's two things that I've seen so far that are very common. And the first is getting overwhelmed by sort of the enormity of the task ahead of you and not taking things day by day and trusting that the day by day progress at the end will all come together and you'll be able to pass the exam and succeed. And
That's
instead
huge.
sort of like burning out early
Yeah.
and not having the energy to get through the entire process. That's really common, I think. Um, and The second, I think, is just is getting caught up on, having to memorize every level of, scrutiny and con law before you start actually doing the practice questions, MBE questions, and the essays.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for students to focus on like where the rubber meets the road and do the questions and do the essays and then learn from them. So don't just do them, but also go to the sample answer, the explanation, and figure out why you got something wrong.
Yeah, I would
Really,
completely agree with both of those being big traps that we see all the time. And I think, but I like the way you phrase that first one in particular, like getting overwhelmed by like all thinking about all of bar prep all at once, as opposed to taking it just like piece by piece, assignment by assignment. I am super guilty of approaching things that way too. So I can sympathize, but it does slow things down. And so sort of in that same vein, if someone was like, hey, Kristen, like you're a bar exam coach, I'm taking the bar, like, what should I do? But you only had 5 minutes and you could only tell them one thing or maybe 2 things if you can't pick. But what would be like your best piece of bar prep advice?
practice, and review. Like
Yeah.
practice questions and review the answers. I think that's one of the most important components, if not the most important component to passing the bar.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been sort of adding this caveat that I'm not like paying you guys to say practice questions are most important. There has been an overwhelming amount of people who have answered that, both coaches and students alike. But that's just, listen, if something's true, it's gonna come out over and over again. And when the problem is being underprepared for the test, practice questions are the answer. So yeah, I'm again with you on that one too. So as I mentioned in the beginning, a big part of why we're doing these videos is to also give people a little bit insight into like the Vinco community. And so you as a coach, right, you could take your skill set and go to any company or do this, somewhere else. What sort of like draws you to Vinco as a company, or what do you think is like special, unique, different about Vinco that sort of could give people an idea of what we're about?
It's the people. I mean, the people, I think, set everything apart. All the other coaches and the students, everyone's collaborative, supportive. I think that's a huge benefit in the whole bar exam prep process. And I think also the holistic approach that Vinco takes to helping their students prepare for the exam. We don't just talk to them about how many questions they should be doing or how many hours they should be spending studying a particular topic, but we talk to them about what's going on in their life, what might be happening outside of studying that's, impeding their progress. And I think that's invaluable because a lot of times it's not, their ability to learn the material. It's just other things that are happening in their life that they need to work through and manage. So
yeah, I love that you like see that and value that, like the holistic approach. I use that word a lot when I talk about like what we do. And those are the things that maybe even you noticed this last time. It's like we kind of have to fight on them, but they're like, but this is the bar exam and I don't want to talk about XYZ. But they usually come around and they're like, oh yeah, like that was distracting me or that was preventing me. And it turns out to be the thing that they needed help with. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of your busy Saturday with me. I really appreciate it and all the work that you're doing for our students. So if you're interested in learning more about Vinco, you can find us at vincoprep.com, and I will see you at the next interview.